A quick note before we start, the podcast and the newsletter will be off next week on Monday for Memorial Day, but we'll be back in action again on Tuesday.
Hello and welcome to What the F*** Just Happened Today, your essential guide to the daily shock and awe in national politics. I'm Joe Amditas. Let's get to it. It's Friday, May 28th, 2021. Welcome to day 129. Senate Republicans blocked the creation of an independent bipartisan commission to investigate the January 6th attack on the Capitol, using their filibuster power in the Senate for the first time during Biden's presidency. The vote was 54 in favor, 35 against, and 11 senators who didn't vote, short of the 60 needed to proceed. 6 Republicans voted in favor of proceeding with the legislation. Prior to the vote, Mitch McConnell reportedly asked his Republican Senate colleagues to filibuster the bill as a personal favor to him, dismissing the proposed commission, modeled after the 9/11 Commission, as a purely political exercise. Senator Joe Manchin said there were an awful lot of other Republicans that would have supported the commission if it hadn't been for McConnell's intervention, guessing that 13 or 14 GOP senators may have voted for the bill. Manchin, however, once again reaffirmed that he would not reconsider his opposition to getting rid of the filibuster. Senator Lisa Murkowski also took aim at McConnell over his opposition to the commission, saying to be making a decision for the short-term political gain at the expense of understanding and acknowledging what was in front of us on January 6th, I think we need to look at that critically. Is that really what this is about, one election cycle after another? Senate Republicans also delayed the passage of a $195 billion bipartisan bill aimed at countering China's global economic and political influence. A small group of conservative senators complained that they didn't have time to review the more than 2,400 pages of the American Innovation and Competition Act. The vote was postponed until June 8th, when senators returned from a week-long Memorial Day recess. Meanwhile, the Biden administration defended a Trump-era oil and gas project in Alaska. The administration declined to explain how its position on the multi-billion-dollar plan from ConocoPhillips to drill in part of the National Petroleum Reserve Alaska aligns with Biden's pledge to cut U.S. emissions in half by 2030, replace fossil fuels with renewable energy, and enhance protections for public lands and waters. The Arctic, meanwhile, is warming 3 times faster than the rest of the planet due to climate change. ConocoPhillips plans to install chillers to refreeze the thawing permafrost and ensure that it's stable enough to support the equipment needed to drill for oil, which will then likely accelerate climate change when it's burned and further the melting of the permafrost. The project was pushed by Alaskan Senator Lisa Murkowski, who is a centrist Republican seen as a potential administration ally in the evenly split Senate. Biden also ordered the 90-day review into the origin of the coronavirus pandemic after intelligence officials told the White House that they had unexamined evidence that required additional analysis. Officials declined to describe the evidence, but are reportedly hoping to apply an extraordinary amount of computer power to the question of whether the virus accidentally leaked from a Chinese laboratory. Moving on, hackers linked to Russian intelligence hacked the email system used by the U.S. Agency for International Development. Once compromised, hackers sent USAID-like emails to more than 3,000 accounts across more than 150 organizations containing code that gave the hackers access to the computer systems of the recipients, with the goal of stealing data to infect other computers on a network. Those emails went out as recently as this week, and Microsoft, which identified the Russian group behind the attack as Nobelium, said it believes the attacks are ongoing. Microsoft also said it was the same group responsible for the SolarWinds hack, which breached at least 7 government agencies and hundreds of large American companies. Meanwhile, federal prosecutors are investigating whether Ukrainian officials attempted to interfere in the 2020 presidential election, including by using Rudy Giuliani to spread misleading claims about Biden to help Trump. The FBI and prosecutors in Brooklyn are focused on current and former Ukrainian officials suspected of trying to influence the election by spreading unsubstantiated claims of corruption about Biden through several channels. The inquiry began during the final months of the Trump administration. Giuliani's dealings with Ukrainian oligarchs while working as Trump's lawyer are also the subject of an investigation by federal prosecutors in Manhattan. Federal agents seized Giuliani's phone and computers while executing a search warrant in April. And finally, a federal judge appointed a so-called special master to review material seized from Rudy Giuliani and another lawyer through a search warrant. The special master will review files on electronic devices that were seized from Giuliani and Victoria Toensing for material that's potentially privileged. U.S. District Judge Paul Oetken also denied a series of requests by Giuliani and Toensing to return the trove of digital information that the FBI seized as part of the investigation into potential violations of laws on lobbying for foreign entities. And in the polls, Yahoo News says 73% of Republicans blame left-wing protesters trying to make Trump look bad for the January 6th riot at the Capitol. 23% of Republicans, however, say Trump bears some or a great deal of the blame for the riot, which left several people dead and more than 140 injured. And PRRI and CNN say 23% of Republicans agree that the government, media, and financial worlds in the U.S. are controlled by a group of Satan-worshipping pedophiles who run a global child sex trafficking operation. 28% agree that there is a storm coming soon that will sweep away the elites in power and restore the rightful leaders, and another 28% agree that because things have gotten so far off track, true American patriots may have to resort to violence in order to save our country. Among all Americans, fewer than 20% agree with those statements.
That's all for now. You can find the links and sources for all of these stories on the main website. And as always, visit whatthefjusthappenedtoday.com for the latest news and headlines. Until next time, I'm Joe Amditas.